So when I think about a hybrid build, right, I think about something that can combine almost everything in one build. I'm talking about being somewhat tank, being somewhat skill efficient, and also be able to use a gun for damage, not only your skill. So a combination of everything in one build, and I believe I was able to finally achieve that on this build. I haven't done a hybrid build in a long time, but this one right here, this is my perfect version of a hybrid build. On this build I have 1.3 million armor, and that's not counting any blue bonus armor, right? And also I have a gun that can shred your enemies even though you don't have core attribute, a weapon damage to be able to do damage, but on this build the weapon actually goes perfectly. And not only that, you can throw any skills that does damage on this build and that skill will perform just fine. And even one of my favorite skills when it comes to damage, the striker drone, right? I throw this out there with this build and I just let it do its thing by just going around the enemies and just destroying them. So everything that you can think of when it comes to a little bit of everything in one build, this is what I have on this build. So let's take a look at this. Now, what other way to start this off other than talking about the weapon that makes this possible? It's the exotic assault rifle, the Capacitor. Now, this is an exotic that you can obtain on the Summit game mode. So if you want to get one of these and you don't have it yet, I recommend going to the Summit. You can do challenge in there to unlock. Now, the Capacitor comes from a existing assault rifle in the game that it's the PDR. The PDR is an assault rifle that has two different variants, if you want to call it that. So it has the named version, the test subject, which comes with the perfect talent in sync, and also has the exotic version, which is the Capacitor, which is what we're going to be talking on today's video. When it comes to the base damage and RPM, all of the three of them has the same thing. The base damage will be 51.7k per bullet and the RPM is 700 for all three of them. Now when it comes to the mag size, it's a little bit different. The Capacitor, by being an exotic, you cannot mod that, so you can only get 41 bullets on the magazine. The PDR and the test subject comes with the base magazine of 30 bullets, and you can mod it to get up to 50 bullets on a magazine. Now, speaking of mods, as you see, the Capacitor, by being an exotic, all of the mods are locked already. So on the scope we have a 10% crit chance, on the muzzle we have a 30% crit damage. Now the Capacitor does not have an underbarrel, but it has a grip. This grip gives you a 10% weapon handling, which is accuracy, stability, reload speed, and weapon swap. And then last but not least, we have a plus 11 rounds. The reason we use this weapon, the reason is the talent of the weapon, which you're gonna be talking about in just a second. But the core attribute, real quick, has obviously assault rifle damage, and then it has damage to armor. On the attribute, health damage goes there, total of 9.5%. So let's talk about this talent right here, the Capacitance. The Capacitance is a talent that comes on this exotic that, a short way of saying this, is basically a striker version of a talent for a gun, and it will help your damage to skills. So you shoot your enemies, you build up stacks up to 40 stacks, and each stack will decay over 5 seconds, right? Now from these stacks you gain 1.5% skill damage per stacks to your skills. So that's a, like I said, it's just a striker version for your skills on a weapon. And then the second part of this talent, which is very interesting, for each skill tier you gain 7.5% weapon damage. Basically, when you have a skill build with a lot of yellow attributes with a Capacitor, you can actually gain some damage out of that. So that's why it's a good weapon, one of the best weapons for skill builds if you want to shoot your weapon. And speaking of the build, so let's break it down. So we have a few different brand sets in here. Starting off with the Honey U, we have two of them. We have a mask and also a glove. By equipping two Honey U brand sets, you gain two bonuses, a 10% skill haste and a 10% skill damage. Basically very good for this build. And then on the core attribute, I have obviously skill tier for both of them, and then the attribute I have skill damage and crit damage with a mod on the mask of crit chance. The gloves gonna be about the same: core attribute, skill tier, attribute, crit damage, and skill damage. Another skill tier brand set that I have on the build is of Wyvern Wear, and I have one of these because by equipping one of them you gain 10% skill damage, and we need that for this build. On the core attribute, skill tier, and then attribute, skill damage, and crit chance with a mod of crit chance. Now this Wyvern Wear is gonna be a chest piece, so we have a talent in here, and we're gonna be use the talent the Spotter. Amplifies total weapon damage and skill damage by 15% to pulse enemies. So we're gonna be able to not only amplify our damage but also our skill damage. So moving for the third brand set, we have the new brand set that was added not too long ago, Brazos the Arquebus. I have two of these on the build. I have the holster and also the knee pads. So by equipping two of these you gain a 10% skill haste, and the second bonus will be +1 skill tier. So that's another way that we're gonna be getting that 6 skill tier on this build. So by equipping two of those, and that's important. And not only that, on the holster we have a name item, the Picker's holster. This is finally the time that I'm using this holster that everybody keeps saying to use. So with the Picker's holster, right, a name item, you can get a perfect attribute. In this case it is a 15% weapon damage. Now you cannot roll the core attribute to weapon damage as of right now. The devs did not change that, so I have core attribute armor in here. The second braces will be on the knee pads. This one also I have core attribute armor because I want to have that tankiness, and then attribute I have in here skill damage and crit damage, as I am going for almost every piece. It's gonna be skill damage and crit damage or crit chance. So that's it. Let's go for the last piece of this build. I mean, everybody knew that's gonna come for any hybrid build, right? We have the exotic Mamento. This is basically screams a hybrid anywhere that you put it. So the Mamento, you can get 3 of the core attributes: weapon damage, armor, and skill tier. Not only that, you can get a talent that will give you benefits for everything, for tankiness, for skill efficiency. You kill enemies, you gain trophies down on the floor. You pick up these trophies, you can get up to a maximum of 30 stacks. With those 30 stacks accumulated, you gain 30% weapon damage, 30% skill efficiency, which is very important, and up to 3% armor generations, and all of that for about 5 minutes. So last but not least, we have to talk about the skills, right? Obviously this is a huge part of the build. Now these are my choices. One that is very important is going to be the pulse, because that's basically what's going to activate the talent on the chest piece. We have the scanner pulse. The scanner pulse that we have in here has a skill tier 6 with a cooldown of 15.4 seconds and durations of 19.2 seconds. So that duration is higher than the cooldown, which is what you want to have, right? The second skill choice in here will be anything that does damage. In my case, I like the striker drone because it flies around the enemy and you can go hunt them down, but also you could go with one very strong, which is the assault turret. But in my case, I have the striker drone. Mine has a cooldown of 19.2 seconds with a health of 2,800,000 with a duration of 231 seconds. So it stays out there for quite a long time. That cooldown is not that bad either. 19.2 seconds. I don't find it that bad. I can get it pretty quick, and that's before we get that buff from the Mamento backpack. Keep in mind. So my striker drone right here says the damage is 68,000, but with all the buffs that I'm gonna get from the Capacitor talent, from the Spotter talent, from the Mamento backpack, my damage will be going up to 124,000, and that's about right there that I can hit the enemies with that strike. And keep in mind, it has a very high RPM, so I'll be shredding the enemies with my striker drone, and I don't even have to worry about shooting enemies, to be honest with you. We can take a look at these stats for this Capacitor. Actually, it is pretty decent. Like I said, you can actually go and shoot this weapon and kill enemies and not rely only on the skills, because this is a hybrid build. You want meant to have that tankiness, that skill efficiency, and also you know, having your weapon to do damage. So with this capacitor we have 87,000 weapon damage, right? Crit chance 50%, 111% crit damage, 75 headshot damage, 12% armor damage, and 10% health damage. I feel like when it came to specialization I only had one option, to be honest with you, because this gives me stuff that will accumulate the build very well. Starting off with the right here, the amped gives you +1 skill tier, so we use that to get that 6 skill tier on the build. We have also the overclock CPU, a +10% skill damage to your skill, so you know, a very good part of the build. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have for you guys today on this video. Let me know what you guys think of this hybrid build. Now, I meant to do this, it's been a while, and I finally got the pieces together to make this build happen. So have you got any hybrid builds? Are you a fan of hybrid builds or not really? What is your type of builds that you like the most? Let me know all of that in comment section below. I appreciate your support. You guys been smashing with the latest build videos. I appreciate the support. If you enjoyed this video, hit me with a like. I would appreciate. Subscribe for more Division 2 content. Join the community by becoming a member, and all of that in comment section below in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.